Okay, so thank you all for your initial comments. So there are quite a few questions. So I'm gonna start immediately. I think I'll start. Wait a second. From Marlies. Okay, let's see, Marlies. Okay, is there an example of competitive advantage gained by the B Corp certification? It's one of the questions that I have. If it's very fast, you can be fast, don't worry. We have many questions.
Well, B Corp says something about sustainability, and it's difficult for us SME to show that you are doing the good things. So we started a long time ago, I think over 15 years ago, to proactive be more sustainable. And in the time, we also got this B Corp certification because we already started some time ago. And I must admit, in the time that we started with it, it was not as hot. Nobody knew what it was. You had to explain. And I even got a guy from AXO working from us who was told by his colleagues that said, "Are you sure you want to go to work for that company? Because do they even produce paints anymore? They only talk about sustainability." That was then. And then we continued, but on a less basis of outspokenness. And now we see that we have customers that are in need of sustainability because their customers ask sustainability. So they come to us and they say, "We need your help. We need this and this and this. We have to show that we are sustainable. So how can we do that?" So with all the knowledge we gained, we can now help our customers and our new customers to get better in what they do. So yes,
yes,
it helps.
I have a question that I pick a point from your presentation. Why we cannot have the flower power products now, if they are so good? I mean, if there are no, I don't remember the exact number, but you said, no, nothing of that, nothing of that, nothing of that. So why not now then?
Well, we started the idea to have the people get used to what could be a paint for the future. If you want to introduce a new product, you have to be 100% sure that it works. For flower power, we had this idea, so we made it a concept. I'll give you an example. We had a small volume made for the market, and we were looking for parties that were interested to do some testing. And one of my sales guys went to a customer who wanted a pink wall. So we delivered the paint, and it turned out to be yellow. Okay. So the sales guy was like, "Oh my God, what happened?" And the customer said, "Wow, this is what I like." So we're not there yet, but we're working on it. And it shows what we might be able to do in the future.
Okay, so I go to Wouter. Is it possible to cover the needs of European market in terms of capacity without the Chinese titanium dioxide?
Yes, I think to my information, the installed capacity nameplate within Europe of the 6 manufacturers that you have locally in Europe are good for about 92% of the demand to cover that. And on top of that, you still have some more producers which are not subject to any tariffs that are making titanium dioxide in other parts of the world, namely North America, Mexico. And they are then actually good to fill the rest. But I still believe that we will continue to see imports from China because the excess capacity is just so huge that they will have to sell at a certain point. So I don't believe they will disappear from the market.
I would like to ask you something that I'm not sure it's true, but since you're German, I always wanted to ask something like that. How does the gas supply that you were in Germany affected immediately? How this affected your company?
Well, in a very, very bad manner, because making titanium dioxide is definitely something where you require a defined portion of energy. So that is also why Marlies tries to get rid of titanium dioxide in a concept paint, because it's a solid contributor to the carbon footprint of a product. So at the end, you can't at today's technology, you can't make it without adding energy, and be that in form of gas to produce steam or electricity, or then you buy raw materials like chlorine, which is actually made via the chloralkali electrolysis, which also needs energy again. So you can see that we are directly impacted and indirectly impacted from higher energy costs, not only gas, I'm talking about energy in general. And that is a big, big threat. So the industry, and I think that's not only valid for titanium dioxide, but also for the chemical industry, we definitely need a relief, and we need a stability and a predictability of the cost development. So basically that is something that we really need sooner than later.
Okay,
Yeah.
you're really true there. So I go to Trevor next to me. The question comes from someone who's probably afraid for artificial intelligence because he or she asks, I don't know, there's no name, how artificial intelligence will affect the coating market?
Yeah, so I think we look at it from different touch points, from demand forecasting in terms of using machine learning and algorithms to predict the market, and then obviously from a business point of view, react accordingly in terms of positioning yourself to take advantages of the dips and troughs or peaks in the market. Another way to look at it also is using vision technologies, say for instance in the protective coatings market for inspection for defects, using visual technologies that can help you in terms of proper application of products and avoiding the cost of plant shutdowns and maintenance by ensuring proper application from the very start. The other way to look at it also is from a product development point of view, where you can use machine learning as well to predict the outcomes of your R&D endeavors, thereby reducing the time to market for a product. And then also tied to around the issues of sustainability, coming up with models that will replace current chemicals that are not good for the environment with, for instance, bio-based alternatives. So yeah, I would say the touch points are quite a number of them, and it's imperative on any organization to make sure they take advantage of AI.
Okay, so I'll turn to Mr. Vasiliadis. What is the biggest challenge that you met on new distant markets? Which I must say that 85% it was impressive to export. So
I could speak all day about this.
okay,
I will try
you do not have all day, but you can be faster than that.
Narrow this down.
Okay.
First of all, as a Greek company, as a family business, our bigger power was flexibility and adaptivity. Sorry. So especially nowadays that the global challenges are many and unpredictable, you need to be able to adapt to all these changes really fast and give value to your product. So especially because the 75 markets that we sell our products are very different between them, it was really important for us to find a way to adapt to the needs of our customers. That is, I think, the most important, which also means other things like, okay, how can you be adaptive through your R&D, through your marketing, through your policies, through all this stuff.
Okay. I will go back to Marlies. Does additional reporting like CSRD really promote sustainability, or is there danger of greenwashing and malpractice?
Oh, my favorite subject.
Oh,
CSRD.
okay.
Well, to be
Someone touched a chord there. Good.
Well, I think the CSRD, the idea is great, but what I said in my story is that it has to be to come from within. If you're not sure that you should be sustainable, why should you? Just tick your boxes, CSRD is ready, and go with the flow and do something else. So yes, there are companies now that say sustainability is important. Wow, this is fun, because sustainability is fun. And they go the right way. But the problem for me with CSRD is that it is a lot of ticking boxes. And I have to pay a very, very expensive accountant to pay for something I already do. And what my biggest problem is that we have to spend money on something I'd rather spend on sustainability items in my company. And there is my biggest challenge. So CSRD as an idea, yes, it's too complex, it's too costly, and it should be done in a different way.
Okay. Rolf, how can Europe impact the climate change while its manufacturing impact at the world level decreases significantly? China and US are over 65, Europe is only 11%.
Yeah, that's a good question. It's, I think, totally off the topic of my presentation, but at the end, I mean, sustainability is important for all of us, and I think just being responsible for 11% of the emission is no reason to lean back. We consider ourselves to be technology leaders, to be the most efficient producers of things in the world, and that also accounts for Kronos with titanium dioxide. So there's no reason not to save energy, not to save the planet. I have 2 kids myself. I would really like to leave something behind. Same time, I understand that making titanium dioxide has a carbon footprint.
I'll
but we
I'll
are
beat you in the children section.
Sorry?
I beat you in the children section.
Okay.
You have only 2, I have 5.
Yeah.
So
Even
I'm
more
with
important
you on
then.
that.
Even more important then.
Yes.
Yeah, but at the end, I mean, again, sustainability is a topic that is accounting for all of us. And just because we have a smaller contribution than developing countries, that doesn't mean that we should not improve, because the overall aim is for titanium dioxide to remain lean, to consume as less resources as possible to make our products, and that will benefit ultimately also the sustainability.
Okay, so let's go to Mr. Matayi. Which markets or countries show more potential during this period in the global market of coating? What about the future?
Yeah, I would say Southeast Asia. I would say India is doing quite well, Indonesia. Turkey, as companies look for alternative markets, I think Turkey being a trade hub is also an interesting market. The US is not doing well, but when you look at construction activity, you can see some improvements. Manufacturing is, I would say, starting to improve. So in the next couple of years, I think the US should do well as well. And then when you look at Europe, like it was being discussed earlier, there's a couple of challenges around energy cost regulation and stuff like that. But there is segments, obviously, that are interesting. That would be interesting to look at going into the future. For instance, the fact that there is an increase in defense spend across European countries, then obviously if you're making coatings for the military segment, segment, there should be some growth in that segment. So I would say for now Southeast Asia and Africa, Middle East, and then for the future, I think Europe will turn the corner in the next couple of years. I think within the next 5 years, if obviously the changes around energy and regulation are and the policy that the European Union has adopted now, we should see some growth as well. East Africa, I think, is interesting as well. There's a lot of infrastructure happening there, and as well as construction around housing and things like that. So it should be another interesting market as well.
Okay, I'll go to Mr. Vassiliadis. Something particular, I should say, about your company. Where do your academy targets? What is the problem that you think you can solve with your academy?
That's a great question. That's a really IOCT question. Thank you for the person who named it. It starts from the technique of car painting. You know, this technique is a technique that is learned from father to son to all these years. And through all the years before us, you know, it has been a dirty job, owning a body shop and painting cars, you know, being through the solvents and the car paint all the day is a difficult job. So imagine that these fathers would push their children away from this job and this technique. So this is a business that doesn't have new painters coming out in the market. Okay. We believe that through training about how to own a body shop, how to use the products in a way that creates profit, and of course with sustainability in order to make it a clean business, we can make and we can create a new generation of painters for the future. And this is why we invest in training our end users and our customers.
Okay. I will turn to Mr. Matayi because there is a question also for cars. And someone asked how do electric cars are affecting the coating business? Because you had it there. It was a question for me also.
Obviously, over the last couple of years, there's been an increase in electric vehicles that also has resulted in demand for battery coatings. So that was another segment that was doing well. Although now the electric vehicle sales seems to be flattening, I think. But if we continue to see incentives by governments in India and China to bring in more electric vehicles, I think in China they are pushing for, I think 80% of the new car sales to be EVs. So obviously that would demand coatings for battery technology and things like that.
To Rolf, how do you believe that we should address the imports of white paints from countries as Turkey that has the benefit of low-priced titanium dioxide?
That's a very interesting question because that is probably a very crucial topic for the coatings industry and in particular also for Greece because you are more to the border of Europe, more exposed to markets that can continue to buy at dumping prices and manufacture very cheap. At the end, I don't have a solution to that question, I have to say. Yeah, I believe that finished goods are not paint is not really traveling very well, and the question really is how much is the contribution of titanium dioxide cost to the final paint? How big is that advantage really at the very end?
I have a question for Marlies. Is it preferable to assess a local demographic problem to the big picture of global overpopulation and overconsumption of raw and produced materials? I'm not sure I can understand the question. Sorry about that. And sorry to the one who posed it. Did you understand?
Not really.
Not really, okay. Let me repeat it if you cannot. Sorry, I lost it. Is it preferable to assess a local demographic problem to the big picture of global overpopulation and overconsumption of raw and produced materials?
It's a difficult question.
Yeah, I don't get it. Sorry. I was afraid that maybe I was losing something and maybe you can understand better than me. Sorry. Okay. Sorry, it's a little bit difficult. However, I'll stay to Marlies since I can ask what was the most critical factor for maintaining innovation in a traditional industry like paints?
I think one of the challenges is that we have to get these new raw materials. As I said, we think that 80% might be changed, and I think that the chemical industry is lagging behind in developing new products to make new paints. They focus a lot on energy, which is also important, but they forgot during the whole journey that we also need new raw materials to produce new paints. And that's a really big challenge, and that makes the market conservative, yes. So there's a lot of work to do. That's why we also started our Wido, new business development business.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll go to Ralph because there is the one who posed the question obviously is the same and comes back. Still in European Union, titanium dioxide producers are exporting outside Europe. How you are sure that European demand will be covered while there are quantities delivered outside EU?
Again, the market is, when it was short, that means the demand was peak, 1.3 million tons. And we have currently a nameplate capacity, just Kronos, on a worldwide scale of 620,000 tons. And we are not the largest by far. So at the end, you have still Chemours, you have Tronox, there is still Venator, there are 3 producers in Eastern Europe. So basically there is enough capacity in the Western Hemisphere. So not only Europe, but also including North America, which are there on their way exporting to our market, that comes without a tariff. So basically there is enough titanium dioxide, even though the local producers always used to export something. And on top, I think it's very naive to believe that just because we now have tariffs, that such an overcapacity will disappear from the market that we have seen built in Asia. So at the end, this material will pop up elsewhere, and these markets will then be facing these dramatic price erosions. So that means Western producers will not export into these markets anymore at a certain point, because the key is we need to remain profitable to be a long-term supplier.
Okay, I'll pose a last question. There are some more, but I think we have covered. The whole questions. But there is a question to all of you. Sustainability is really important, and is the pink elephant in the room. Maybe the white, the pink, I don't know.
The elephant.
There's an elephant, however, in the room. I don't know if it's pink. Maybe it's the coating business that painted it pink. But we cannot avoid sustainability. But how do you view the consumer's willingness to pay more? Whoever wants to answer, or all of you, please do answer that. Let's start with Mr. Vassiliadis.
Thank you. That's a tricky question because from my side, our sector, the automotive refinancing sector, is a really closed sector. And to be honest, it's, you know, the painters, the owners of the body shops are not that interested in these things, although we try to persuade them about being sustainable and being more greener and that stuff. What we try to do as a company is we try to use this as an advantage that creates more value to our products. So we try to use our R&D in smart ways and find ways to create value on these products, rather than see it as an obstacle, because at some points we find out that it is. So that's what we do from our scope in our business.
Trevor?
Yeah, I think it's a tricky question, but my opinion is that sustainability is not available, and that the trend across health and wellness, energy efficiency is going to continue. So we have to produce products that speak to those elements. And then as of the customer, are they willing to pay for it? There might be some resistance, but my opinion is that that is a trend going forward, and we have to be adaptable to that. And I think for now, the tricky part is finding the sweet spot on the performance that can come through as to those improvements and the price points that the customers are willing to pay. But I think the most important thing is that it's a trend that's continuing, and we have to adapt to it. And I think it's rather to be at the front of the market than to follow through when your competitors or other competitors have captured the market as it grows.
Okay, so Ralph, I think you will agree with me. We'll have the Queen last. Of course. Okay, and so it's now your turn to answer this final question.
Again, sustainability is definitely a very interesting topic, but of course you need to have technology implemented. And if I just again speak for titanium dioxide, that means you buy new machines which dry quicker or higher volumes that increase the throughput, that reduce the energy. And that actually requires a certain invest. And that invest you can only take when the company is profitable. So at the end, the consumer is making the decision and they need to be at a certain point ready to pay a little more here and there. So when I myself as a private person go and buy a buck of paint in a do-it-yourself store, or usually my girlfriend goes. So when she goes, then she for sure looks at the labels and that is influencing her buying decision. So if there is a Nordic Swan label attached to a paint, the likelihood that this box is bought is much higher than actually the one that is €5 cheaper. So I think there is a certain readiness of the consumers to pay more. But the thing is really, I also remember a discussion that I had once with a customer a few years ago, and we were talking about a semi-finished product, which obviously came with a lower carbon footprint because it was just semi-finished. And at the end, the discussion ultimately went in the wrong direction because the customer asked, so when you are saving 23% of carbon footprint, what can you do on the price? And that is a completely wrong perception of the topic because sustainability requires investment, and that is key.
Okay. Marlies?
Yeah, it is a difficult question because I face it, of course, too. If I want to buy some new aroma chemicals that help me make the product more sustainable, they always say, it's more expensive, you have to pay more. And really, I think it's stupid. It's the world upside down. We all know that if we want to survive as humans in a nice place, that we have to become better with each other. So there has to be something changing in the way we look at cost for products. And I think we need governments to do that. Because as long as they accept that something that is bad will cost less than something that is good, we will stay in this big problem. And in the end, we pay much, much more for all the damage that is done. I mean, look at all the forest burnings, the things in Valencia. It will cost billions of euros to restore what is damaged.
So a government banning, let's say?
No, they
ban
should
a product,
be
let's
more,
say
they should, first of all, there's always the case, it's the business case that doesn't work. Well, make the business case work and help the companies that are positive in change to do their things. Not to make more money, but to make the money in the way they can use it again to invest in their new developments. So it's really a tricky one, but we need some help, broader help in solving it.
Okay, thank you very much, all of you. I think I'll ask for our producers. Yes, you can clap if you want. But okay. I'll ask from this the beautiful people that are working in here backstage to give us the poll answers. Αν θέλετε, έχουμε τις απαντήσεις. Όχι ακόμη. Τις έχουμε. Ωραία. Ωραία. Λοιπόν, συμφωνείτε με τα... Do you agree with anti-dumping measurements posed by EU? 60% yes says yes. Let's go to the next one. Do you think that the anti-dumping measures, titanium epoxide, will affect the industry? Negative way, 57%. Positive, 20%. And they are the extremes that they're a little bit lower, but I think the negative and the positive are the important answers. Let's go to the next one. Multiple choice. You can have 3 questions. Ποιοι παράγοντες επηρεάζουν περισσότερο? Which the success of a company. Ανταγωνιστικότητα και τιμές κόστους παραγωγής, 75%, ευελιξία στην προσαρμογή σε νέες αγορές και εδώ 75% επένδυση στην έρευνα και ανάπτυξη. Ποιοι παράγοντες επηρεάζουν περισσότερο την επιτυχία μιας εταιρείας στη διεθνή αγορά? Ανταγωνιστικότητα τιμών και κόστος παραγωγής 80%, ευελιξία στην προσαρμογή σε νέες αγορές και ανάγκες πελατών 70%, αποτελεσματικό branding και marketing στρατηγική 50%. Ποιοι παράγοντες επηρεάζουν περισσότερο, όχι, ποιες στρατηγικές είναι πιο κρίσιμες για τη διατήρηση της ανταγωνιστικότητας στον κλάδο των χρωμάτων και επικαλύψεων, υιοθέτηση βιώσιμων και φιλικών προς το περιβάλλον πρώτων υλών, διεύρυνση χαρτοφυλακίου προϊόντων και λύσεων, ανάπτυξη ισχυρών συνεργασιών με προμηθευτές και πελάτες, ψηφιακός μετασχηματισμός στην παραγωγή και τις πωλήσεις, στρατηγικές συγχωνεύσεων και εξαγορών, συμμετοχή σε ευρωπαϊκά. Άλλαξε, δεν το πρόλαβα. Έχουμε και άλλη μία, είναι η τελευταία αυτή. Οκ. Ποιες στρατηγικές είναι πιο κρίσιμες για τη διατήρηση της ανταγωνιστικότητας στον κλάδο των χρωμάτων? Την πρώτη δεν τη βλέπω. Το νούμερο 1 δεν μπορώ να δω την απάντηση. Υιοθέτηση βιώσιμων και φιλικών προς το περιβάλλον πρώτων υλών, ανάπτυξη ισχυρών συνεργασιών με προμηθευτές και πελάτες, διεύρυνση χαρτοφυλακίου προϊόντων και λύσεων, ψηφιακός μετασχηματισμός στην παραγωγή και τις πωλήσεις, συμμετοχή σε ευρωπαϊκά και διεθνή επενδυτικά προγράμματα και στρατηγικών συγχωνεύσεων και εξαγορών. Αρέσει πολύ στην κυβέρνησή μας αυτό. Σας ευχαριστώ. Thank you very much to the four of you for coming here, coming to this country and talking to this people that thank you very much also you for listening to us.